Most people think that getting ready for what's ahead means spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on expensive survival gear. But that's not how people with real experience do it. Right now, many preppers across America are quietly buying small items at Walmart that cost less than $2 before August begins. They're not flashy, and they don't attract attention, but they can solve problems that many people only realize after the shelves are empty. The power has been out for days, or prices have skyrocketed. And the item in the #1 spot costs less than $1. Yet it helps protect the most valuable thing you can never replace. 12. Non-fat, dry milk. Most people stock up on plenty of rice, plenty of pasta, plenty of canned food, but they forget the very thing that muscles, bones, and the immune system need most once the diet starts becoming less nutritious. Protein. That's why milk often becomes one of the first nutritional gaps to appear during a prolonged power outage, a disrupted supply chain, or when store shelves start getting cleared out. Not because people suddenly start drinking more milk, but because very few foods are both highly nutritious and as dependent on refrigeration as fresh milk. By the time the last carton in the refrigerator is gone, many families realize the problem. A child still needs breakfast. An older adult still needs calcium and protein. But all that's left in the pantry is rice, pasta, oats, and a few cans of vegetables. Those foods can fill you up. They can't fully replace what milk provides. That's why many experienced preppers quietly add a few packets of non-fat dry milk to their Walmart cart, even though they have no intention of using it that day. They don't buy it because powdered milk tastes better than fresh milk. They buy it because it doesn't need refrigeration. One prepared serving can provide about 8 grams of complete protein, along with calcium, vitamin D, and several B vitamins. That's an especially useful combination during times when meals rely too heavily on starches. When the body goes without enough protein for an extended period, the problem isn't just feeling hungry. Muscle strength begins to decline. Recovery becomes slower. Older adults can lose strength more easily during everyday tasks like carrying water, cleaning up after a storm, or taking care of a loved one. That's why powdered milk is commonly included in emergency food reserves and disaster relief supplies. Not because it's nostalgic or inexpensive, but because it solves a problem that very few foods at the same price point can, providing meaningful nutrition without depending on refrigeration. But its real value is its versatility. You can mix it into drinking milk, stir it into oatmeal, add it to soup to make it thicker and increase the calories. Use it in place of fresh milk in baking recipes. Mix it with peanut butter and honey to make a high-energy food without needing much cooking equipment. And if you're out of butter or cream, simply mix the powdered milk with less water than usual, and you'll have a thicker mixture to use as a base for sauces or soups. It won't turn a simple meal into something fancy, but it can make the same dry foods much easier to eat day after day. There's one important detail when choosing which one to buy. Look for the words non-fat on the label. Fat is the ingredient most likely to oxidize and develop an off flavor. Once most of the fat has been removed, non-fat dry milk generally stores much longer than whole milk powder. An unopened package should be kept in a cool, dark, and dry place. Once it's opened, moisture and air become the biggest enemies. Moving the remaining powder into an airtight container and using only dry utensils will help prevent clumping and early spoilage. That's why so many people don't buy it for today. They buy it for a day they hope never comes. A small packet of powdered milk that costs less than $2 doesn't stand out among the thousands of products at Walmart. But when fresh milk is gone, the refrigerator stops running, and every meal is mostly starch. That overlooked little item becomes one of the simplest ways to keep your family's meals from being filling, but no longer truly nourishing. 11. Paper medical tape. A 67-year-old man pulls over to the side of the road after nearly 2 hours of driving in the summer heat. He steps out, planning to stretch his legs for a few minutes before getting back on the road. But after just a few steps, a sharp, burning pain suddenly spreads across his heel. Not because he fell, not because of a serious cut, just a small blister caused by a new pair of stiff shoes rubbing against his skin. It doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize one very simple truth. In many emergency situations, what forces people to stop isn't a major injury. It's usually a very small injury that happens at exactly the wrong time and in exactly the wrong place. Most people do what feels familiar. They stop by the pharmacy section at Walmart, grab a box of Band-Aids, and think the problem is solved. But that's not the choice many experienced people prioritize. A Band-Aid is designed to cover a small wound under normal, everyday conditions. When you're sweating, walking for hours, or changing dressings repeatedly, the adhesive often loses its grip pretty quickly. For older adults with thinner skin due to age or those taking blood thinners, removing the bandage can sometimes tear the already fragile outer layer of skin. That's why many well-prepared people choose something that gets far less attention. A roll of paper medical tape. It usually costs between $1.27 and $1.97. At first glance, it doesn't look like anything special. But this medical tape is designed to stay securely on the skin while still allowing the skin to breathe, reducing moisture buildup, and removing gently without causing additional damage to the skin. Because of those characteristics, it's commonly used to secure gauze after surgery, dress wounds for older adults, or care for people with sensitive skin. What's interesting is that its real value isn't in replacing a Band-Aid. It's in its versatility. A roll of paper tape can be cut to any size you need. A small strip is enough to secure a piece of gauze on a finger. A longer strip can wrap around a heel to reduce friction before a blister forms. If a temporary splint needs to be held in place, it can do that too without causing pain when it's removed hours later. And when it's no longer needed for first aid, it becomes an incredibly useful repair tool. A torn paper map, a label for a food container, a small crack in a plastic box, a wire that needs to be marked. With just one small roll of tape, you can handle dozens of different tasks without carrying a separate item for each one. There's one detail that many people overlook. What determines how long the tape lasts isn't the amount of adhesive. It's the temperature and humidity. If you leave it in your car's trunk for months during the summer, the adhesive will age much faster. But if you simply place the roll in a Ziploc bag, press out as much air as possible, and store it inside a first aid kit in a cooler, drier place, it can keep its adhesive strength for years with almost no change. That's also why many experienced preppers don't think of paper medical tape as just a roll of tape. They see it as one of the most versatile medical tools with one of the highest value per dollar ratios in the entire Walmart store. Because sometimes, what keeps you moving isn't an expensive piece of equipment. It's just a small roll of tape that costs less than a cup of coffee. But if one roll of tape helps protect injuries on the outside of your body, the next item is also overlooked because of a very similar misunderstanding. Most people believe that the higher the concentration, the stronger the disinfecting power. But when it comes to rubbing alcohol, science says the opposite. 70% isopropyl alcohol. Most people walk into the pharmacy with one familiar assumption. When it comes to disinfecting, the higher the concentration, the stronger it must be. They pass right by the bottle of 70% isopropyl alcohol that costs about 97 cents to $1.47 and choose the 90% or 99% versions because they believe they're buying better protection. That assumption is completely wrong from a scientific standpoint. The disinfection guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, clearly state that 70% isopropyl alcohol is far more effective at disinfecting surfaces than higher concentrations. The reason lies in microbiology, not marketing. Water is an essential catalyst for denaturing the proteins in a bacterium's cell membrane. At concentrations of 90% or higher, the alcohol evaporates too quickly, causing the outer membrane of the bacteria to harden into a protective shell that unintentionally shields the core of the pathogen. Meanwhile, the 70% formula keeps the surface wet long enough to penetrate the entire structure and destroy the bacteria from the inside out. Small travel-size bottles are the ideal option because alcohol begins to lose concentration through evaporation as soon as the cap is opened. Keeping a few small bottles means you'll always have fresh alcohol available to disinfect wounds, clean corroded battery terminals on electronic devices, remove adhesive residue from tools, or use as a fire-starting accelerant to ignite damp wood in harsh weather conditions. The first three items have probably already made you look at those familiar store shelves in a completely different way. But we're only a quarter of the way through the list. Make the smart decision today by subscribing. Equip yourself with logical thinking instead of vague fears, and become one of the people who are never caught by surprise. 9. Basket coffee filters. If you take a cup of cloudy water filled with algae, fine sand, and tiny pieces of wood from a natural water source and pour it straight into an expensive survival filter or drop in chemical disinfectant tablets, you're setting yourself up to fail. Those suspended solids will clog your high-tech filter almost immediately or significantly reduce the effectiveness of the disinfecting solution. People who think ahead don't see coffee filters as a brewing accessory. They see them as the cheapest particulate pre-filtration system an ordinary person can get. The Emergency Water Treatment Guidelines from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, identify coarse filtration through cloth or paper as the required first step in field water purification. At about $1.47 to $1.97 for a pack of 100 to 200 filters, it works out to less than a penny per use. Basket-style coffee filters trap even the finest debris, giving you much clearer water before boiling. During extended emergencies, these filters can also be used to strain used cooking oil for reuse when cooking oil becomes scarce. Line the bottom of a pot to help keep food from sticking, or cover food to keep insects away without trapping moisture that can lead to mold. If you need to start a fire in an emergency, a dry coffee filter coated with a little cooking oil or petroleum jelly becomes a long-burning fire starter that can ignite reliably even in windy conditions. If a single sheet of thin paper can solve that many infrastructure problems, then the next coarse woven fabric is going to surprise you even more. Number 8. Cheesecloth. Long before modern survival gear existed, American homemakers relied on a simple piece of coarse cotton cloth to help keep their households running during days without electricity. Today, most people walk right past the $1.97 packs of great value cheesecloth in Walmart's baking aisle, assuming they're only meant for complicated kitchen projects they'll never use. That assumption is completely wrong. You're overlooking one of the most versatile preparedness tools in the entire supermarket. Picture a day in the field like this. In the morning, you collect a bucket of rainwater filled with leaves, insects, and mud from a gutter. Simply fold this cotton cloth into 4 layers. Pour the water through it, and all the debris that could damage your specialized filter afterward will be completely removed. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, recognizes this as a required course pre-filtration step before boiling or disinfecting water. By afternoon, the sweltering August heat sets in, and you need to dry a batch of fish or stored meat. That same unbleached coarse cloth becomes an excellent breathable cover. It keeps flies and insects from contaminating the food while allowing heat and moisture to escape instead of trapping them and causing the food underneath to spoil. When night falls, darkness takes over, and you've run out of lamp oil. You scoop up some freshly rendered lard, soak a strip of cheesecloth in it, and roll it tightly. Instantly, you've made a homemade oil lamp wick that will burn steadily through the night. One day, one piece of cloth that costs less than $2, and it handles 3 essential jobs. Hard-earned field experience has shown that if you ever suffer a large burn or a serious open wound, the coarse yet durable and soft weave of this fabric can become a lifesaver, allowing you to cover the injury without sticking tightly to the damaged tissue, making later bandage changes much gentler. To keep this cloth in the best possible condition, simply leave it in the manufacturer's sealed plastic packaging to protect it from dust and insects. Natural cotton fibers stored this way have an almost unlimited shelf life and aren't affected by time or damp conditions. It's an incredibly lightweight item that solves a wide range of basic needs, and it's something you should pick up at Walmart before August arrives. 7. Mylar Emergency Blanket. Back in the 1960s, NASA developed an ultra-thin metallized polyester film to protect spacecraft from the extreme thermal radiation of outer space. Today, you can buy that very same space-age technology for just $1.47 to $1.97 in the camping or automotive section at Walmart. The physics behind a Mylar emergency blanket is simple. It doesn't create heat. It reflects heat. Its specially reflective surface sends back up to 90% of your body's radiant heat, helping prevent hypothermia, the leading cause of death for people stranded outdoors during cold storms. The real advantage comes from how you use it. If you hang the blanket behind a small fire, it acts like a heat reflector, sending much more warmth back into your shelter. Lay it on the ground, and it becomes an excellent moisture barrier that helps prevent heat loss into damp soil. Search and rescue guides also note that the mirror-like surface of a Mylar blanket can reflect sunlight to create an emergency signal visible to rescue aircraft from more than a mile away. It weighs just 1.4 ounces and folds down to about the size of a deck of cards. Don't keep this information to yourself. Leave a comment telling us which item surprised you the most, and share it with the people around you before we move into the next group of even more essential items. Number 6. Super glue gel. Imagine an American combat medic kneeling in the mud as explosions roar all around him. In front of him is a fellow soldier with a deep gash in his arm, blood pouring out. There's no sterile operating room, no sutures, and most importantly, no time. He has to find a way to keep that wound closed before the rescue helicopter arrives. What he pulls from his medical kit isn't a needle and thread. It's a liquid chemical compound capable of bonding tissue almost instantly. Cyanoacrylate. After the war, this battlefield wound-closing technology was refined by the FDA into the specialized wound adhesive Dermabond used in emergency rooms today. But what most people don't know is that the $1.47 tube of superglue gel in Walmart's hardware aisle is built on almost the same underlying chemistry. Of course, it is not a replacement for professional medical care, but in extreme situations where you're completely isolated, it becomes an invaluable survival tool for sealing clean cuts when ordinary adhesive bandages simply can't do the job. The reason experienced preppers always choose the gel version instead of the traditional liquid formula is its thicker consistency. It stays exactly where you apply it, holding the edges of the skin together without running deep into the tissue. Now imagine how this little tube of glue can save your gear during a really bad day. In the morning, the sole of your work boot suddenly peels completely off after one hard step. In the afternoon, the shoulder strap of your heavily loaded backpack tears apart. By late afternoon, your only water container develops a long crack and starts leaking. With a single tube of glue that costs less than $2, you reattach the boot sole, repair the backpack strap, and seal the crack in the water container. Your gear keeps working as if nothing ever happened. The secret to making sure your glue is always ready is to buy the blister pack with several single-use mini tubes. Super glue hardens and becomes unusable very quickly after it's opened, so smaller tubes let you use a fresh one every time. You can toss them into your glove compartment or jacket pocket for up to 2 years without losing their original bonding strength. It's a repair tool that can help with everything from skin to metal, and it absolutely deserves a place in your Walmart cart before August 1st. Number 5. Canning salt place. 2 bags of salt side by side on a table in Walmart's baking aisle. They look almost identical, and 99% of people will automatically grab the regular table salt because it's cheaper and more familiar. But that random decision can ruin every jar of pickles or fermented vegetables you carefully prepared for the days when the supply chain breaks down. The difference is that everyday table salt contains anti-caking agents and iodine. Those ingredients are completely harmless in everyday cooking. But during long-term preservation, the iodine can turn vegetables an unappetizing gray color, while the anti-caking agents can chemically react and make the brine cloudy, disrupting the natural fermentation process, the very mechanism that allows food to be preserved without refrigeration. Canning salt, which costs less than $2, is completely pure salt with no additives. The USDA's food preservation guidelines call for this type of salt because it creates a perfectly clear antimicrobial brine that helps preserve the food's texture and safety. Even more importantly, this pure salt also serves as an excellent backup for making an isotonic saline solution to rinse away dirt or clean open wounds without causing stinging or damaging healing tissue when you no longer have access to commercially prepared, sterile saline. If you need to keep fresh meat from spoiling during a few days without power in the summer, rubbing a thick layer of canning salt over the surface helps draw out moisture and slows the growth of spoilage bacteria. Because salt is an extremely stable compound, the bag you buy this week at Walmart is chemically no different from samples of salt found in ancient tombs that are more than 4,000 years old. It doesn't expire. However, because it contains no anti-caking agents, it absorbs moisture very easily and can harden like a rock when exposed to air. Simply pour it into a tightly sealed glass jar, and you'll have a resource that can be stored indefinitely. This pure salt helps protect your food supply from spoilage on the outside. But the next item, number 4, works like a magnet inside your digestive system, trapping dangers from within your body. Leave a comment if you've ever picked the wrong kind of salt at Walmart. Subscribe so you don't miss the next essential analysis. And let's move on to item number 4. Number 4. Activated charcoal capsules. Boxes of activated charcoal capsules sitting in Walmart's digestive health aisle for less than $2 are often ignored because most people assume they're only for occasional gas and bloating. But activated charcoal is one of the most powerful toxin-binding materials ever discovered. This isn't charcoal from a wood fire. It's pure carbon that's been heated with steam at extremely high temperatures to create a dense network of millions of microscopic pores. The National Institutes of Health, NIH, notes that just 1 gram of activated charcoal can have a surface area of up to 2,000 square meters. That enormous surface area is what makes physical adsorption possible. As it moves through the digestive tract, activated charcoal binds to and traps toxin molecules, chemicals, or contaminants from spoiled food, preventing them from being absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream before carrying them out of the body. In emergency situations where the healthcare system is overwhelmed, it can become a valuable tool for buying critical time. This inexpensive item has a wide range of uses. If someone in your family develops food poisoning because of a disrupted supply chain, activated charcoal can be used to help bind toxins in the stomach. If your stored water becomes contaminated or develops an unusual odor after severe storms, you can open a few capsules, place the charcoal powder between 2 coffee filters, and pour the water through it to help reduce chlorine odors and remove heavy metals. To preserve its absorption capacity for 3 to 5 years, keep the capsules sealed in the manufacturer's original foil packaging, so humid air can't fill the microscopic pores. This is one of the core items that experienced preppers quietly clear off Walmart shelves before August 1st. Understanding the science behind these everyday products is what separates someone who prepares with knowledge from someone who stockpiles in panic. Number 3. Electrolyte powder packs. When you're doing heavy work or reinforcing your home under the blazing August sun, sweat pours off your body, leaving you desperately thirsty. Your natural instinct is to drink as much plain water as possible from your emergency supply. But the more you drink, the more exhausted you become. Your head starts pounding, and your muscles begin cramping painfully. You're developing dilutional hyponatremia. At that point, plain water dilutes the small amount of sodium left in your bloodstream, causing your cells to take in too much water. The World Health Organization, WHO, explains that the small intestine absorbs water much more slowly, without the simultaneous presence of both sodium and glucose. That's why smart people keep great value electrolyte powder packs on hand, costing about 25 to 50 cents each in Walmart's sports nutrition aisle. The formula contains the precise balance of sugar and salt needed to activate the sodium-glucose co-transport system in the intestinal lining, pulling water into the bloodstream much faster than plain water and restoring blood volume almost immediately. Electrolyte powder also has tremendous psychological value in the field. After eating the same dry foods day after day, its fruity flavor can lift morale and encourage young children to drink enough water to stay alive. This powder is highly sensitive to moisture because the sugar inside can absorb water and clump together. Leave the individual packets in their original box. Then store the box inside a sealed plastic container with a rubber gasket to keep moisture out and preserve a shelf life of 2 to 3 years. A handful of these small packets in your pocket could save you from dangerous heat exhaustion before August 1st. But what if your body isn't just exhausted from the heat? What if you begin suffering from severe dehydration because of illness? Number 2. Oral rehydration salts, ORS. A severe case of food poisoning or acute diarrhea caused by contaminated water during a power outage is a worst-case scenario. In real disasters, dehydration from gastrointestinal illness is statistically responsible for far more deaths than physical injuries during the first 72 hours. When city water pressure drops and you're forced to rely on a less reliable backup water source, the risk of bacterial contamination becomes extremely high. The World Health Organization's WHO Oral Rehydration Salts, ORS, treatment protocol is the only medical intervention credited with saving millions of lives during natural disasters and refugee crises around the world. In Walmart's baby care aisle or pharmacy section, a packet of Pedialyte or standard ORS costs only about 84 cents. When you dissolve one packet into exactly 1 liter of clean water, it isn't an approximate sports drink formula. It precisely recreates the clinical ratio of sodium, potassium, chloride, and glucose established by the WHO. This solution activates the sodium-glucose transport system in the intestine, reversing severe dehydration even when the patient cannot keep food down. This isn't a luxury item. It's a clinical medical treatment sealed inside a foil packet that costs less than a candy bar. The number 2 item protects the flow of fluids inside your body. But the final item, the number 1 spot on this entire list, won't help you eat, and it won't help you drink. Instead, it protects the only system in your body that has absolutely no backup. Number 1. N95 Respirator Mask. Picture an ordinary afternoon. You're quietly sweeping years of built-up dust out of a corner of the garage that hasn't been touched in ages, or cleaning up a damp basement after a summer flood. There are no dramatic wildfires on television, no global pandemic dominating the news, just you, standing in still air filled with tiny particles drifting through the sunlight. The human respiratory system is one of the most fragile and irreplaceable parts of the body. If your skin is cut, your tissues can heal themselves. If you run out of clean water, you can find a way to filter a new supply. If you're hungry, you can change your meals using the shelf-stable foods you've stored. But you can never replace or repair lungs that have been permanently scarred after breathing in fine ash, carried hundreds of miles from wildfire smoke or toxic mold spores that flourish after flooding. A standard N95 respirator, which costs less than $2 in Walmart's household or pharmacy section, creates a tight physical barrier capable of filtering at least 95% of airborne particles as small as 0.3 microns. In any emergency, from a storm that brings down drywall ceilings to toxic smoke filling the air, the air you breathe becomes the first direct threat you face. That's why the N95 respirator deserves the number 1 spot. It offers the highest protection to cost value of any item in the entire store. It protects the only system in your body that you can never replace. The 12 items you saw today are not a shopping list. They're 12 reminders that smart preparedness rarely begins with expensive gear. It begins with recognizing the value in the things most people overlook. But when the day comes that life no longer works the way it normally does, those simple everyday items may be the difference between staying calm and giving in to panic. If you could choose just one item to bring home before August 1st, which one would it be? Let us know in the comments, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next one.